guys, and welcome back to my channel. I have a special guest here. Baby Cole is in the house. I was filming the rest of this video while he was napping, but now he's not. So, he's here hanging out with us. I actually have Encanto on the TV on mute. So hopefully between that and this guy, he's entertained, but if you hear any little baby sounds in the background, that's why. So obviously, as y'all know and why you clicked on this video, today we are going to be testing out, doing a little first impression on the Rare Beauty foundation and concealer. So I'm actually wearing it right now, so you can kind of see what it's looking like. I've been really into testing like new kind of complexion sort of products like this lately. That is what we are doing today. It is a first impression, but I will show y'all the application. I used obviously like a brush and a sponge, and we kind of like compared the application method and the coverage and the finish and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to preface, because I don't really, I said it like in the beginning of the video, but I do have pretty normal skin. If anything, like I lean towards the drier side, so just kind of like for reference. And I feel like if you're clicking on this video, you probably know like what these products are about. Like typically when I'm watching foundation videos, it's because I kind of like have my eye on it and I want either like a shade kind of comparison or just like a general review. So I'll just really briefly go over it. This is the foundation and this is the concealer. They're very similar in how they look. This one has like kind of a ball on the top of the packaging, and this one's a little bit more of like this little narrow thing, but I think the packaging is just so cute. I feel like a lot of people really enjoy the packaging of these. I mentioned these shades and stuff throughout the actual like demo first impression portion, but I got the foundation in 190W, and the box says this is a foundation elixir that feels barely there while building coverage and boosting your natural glow. And then on Sephora, it just says that this is a breathable foundation that combines the weightless feel of a serum, buildable medium coverage for a truly layerable wear. So it claims obviously to be big, very breathable and lightweight while still being like a medium slash layerable kind of look. And it is calling itself like a serum foundation, which I feel like everyone right now is calling their foundation that, or making foundations that are like that, very much kind of like the lighter weight, lighter coverage, skincare-y feeling kind of product. The concealer, however, has like very different yes. The concealer has like very different, not very, but different claims, which I was honestly a little bit surprised about because I kind of expected these to be a little bit more similar. I feel like typically when you have like two products that are like in the same line that kind of go together, you think they're gonna do like similar things. The concealer I got in 170W, so just one shade lighter than the foundation. And this one says it's a moisturizing, buildable concealer that melts seamlessly into skin for undetectable, cake-free coverage. And I think Sephora says almost the same exact thing. Yeah, medium to full coverage that lasts while brightening skin with a radiant finish. Similar-ish, so that's definitely something that we are testing out. Is this actually buildable? Is this buildable? What's the application method like? What's the packaging like? I kind of like deep dive into like all the nitty-gritty about these products, how they play together, how the colors work out, because that was something I was definitely worried about. I mean, even looking at them next to each other and kind of like comparing the tones and the shades. I wasn't too sure about a couple of things in this video, so y'all will see how it pans out when I actually apply it to my face. So I will of course have these linked down below in the description box for y'all. I also linked the brushes I use and like the sponge and kind of like everything. And I do talk about in the application portion of this video about like the wear situation, like a wear test sort of thing. So stay tuned towards the end of the video because I'm intending to a little bit of an update in terms of like how it's looking and wearing and things like that. So stay tuned towards the end of the video after I like put everything on and kind of like wrap up my thoughts, just so y'all can get an idea for like how it went throughout the day, how it wore. So this is obviously the final look with these products on. I just did obviously a very just like kind of minimal, more natural makeup look for today, but I'm really excited to test these out and share my experience with y'all. So if you want to see my first impression kind of application, demo, review, all of that on these Rare Beauty products, then just keep watching. I've been doing that all morning. I don't know what's up with my throat. It's actually still kind of early. My morning voice is still here. We're still working with it. I am so excited. Obviously in real time, I haven't filmed the intro or anything. Like I haven't even touched these products yet. So I'm so excited to test out today the Rare Beauty foundation and concealer. I'm a little bit nervous about the shades of these. I feel like I had the same situation with the Kosas video. I don't know if it's like a special skill. I don't think I'm very good at like finding my shade online. I typically try to like watch it, but why can't I get this out? I typically try to watch like some YouTube videos and see like what shades other people are wearing that might be close to my skin tone and all of that, and then, you know, do my best guess, obviously read the undertones and all that. So I don't have any self tanner on or anything right now, and all I have on my skin right now is my moisturizer, which this is like the one I always use. So it's definitely not going to impact, you know, how this wears. But we're going to start off with the Rare Beauty Liquid Touch Weightless Foundation. If I haven't mentioned already, I have the shade 190W. So obviously that insinuates a warm undertone. This is the box. I think it's really cute. I like how like simple it is. I like the little like handwriting. And of course, I'm sure you'll have seen this packaging and all this stuff a million times. I think it's really, really cute. And I like that it's plastic. It like looks like it's glass. So it looks kind of luxe and more expensive. But I feel like the fact that it's not glass, that it's plastic, just, I don't know, makes you a little less nervous to use it. But I think it also definitely keeps the price point a little bit lower. Doesn't it look like glass though? It looks really, really nice. It's actually kind of weird. You don't even get a whole fluid ounce in here. You only get 0.94. But I'm so excited to try this. Like I said, we're gonna get to the concealer as well. I feel like it just kind of makes sense to try out both. Also, these boxes have like really pretty, again, this like doesn't matter to probably anyone, but can you see like the texture on the box? It almost has like kind of a linen material sort of effect. I don't know, those are just the things that I notice and appreciate. Like always, we are going to do a brush and a sponge. This sponge is like super, super clean. I really promise. It's just obviously a little stained, but it's freshly washed. And then this is just the brush I've been reaching for lately. I have so many foundation brushes that I love, but I've been loving especially the e.l.f. Buffing foundation brush. We'll have these linked down below, but these are the products I've been using. Honestly, in like all my recent beauty videos, I've just been obsessed with this sponge. It looks like a beauty blender, and it basically is a beauty blender. It's like the same size, shape, texture, everything, but like a fraction of the cost. Anyway, we are going to go in with this. I don't know, like I said, how this shade is gonna be. It's looking very, very warm, and honestly, maybe even a little light. Obviously, we are in the warmer months, so I do tend to have self-tanner on pretty frequently, and then obviously I spend some time outside, so I didn't want to get anything too light, but I obviously didn't want to go too dark. We're gonna see. I'm a little nervous. This just seems like it's gonna be very yellow. I don't know how much to use. I know this is obviously meant to be slightly like lighter coverage, which is definitely what I'm into. As y'all can probably, whoops, in my hair, tell, I don't have a ton going on my skin. I do have like one active blemish right here. Nothing like too crazy to cover up. And let's start with the sponge over here. I don't know like if that was enough product, too much product. I guess we'll find out. I just kind of use whatever. It might have been too much, honestly. But it's kind of what these first impression videos are sort of for. Okay, so here is just the one side done. I don't think the color is like terrible. Like, I feel like you can definitely obviously tell looking at me head on. There is definitely like a obviously coverage, but like slight kind of color undertone difference. But in terms of my neck, it's not like looking super crazy. I dragged it down a little bit, but I don't think it's terrible. And then obviously once we conceal and do like powder and bronzer and stuff, I feel like a lot of times it like kind of works itself out. But in terms of the actual finish, I need to actually get my smaller mirror, but I think it's looking really nice. I feel like I would say I'm getting like a really good medium coverage, and almost like more than medium coverage. Again, I may have used a little too much product, possibly. Like, it didn't feel like I had too much when I was blending it out. Like, it wasn't like I was blending and just like trying to find somewhere for the product to go. So even though it kind of looked like a lot, I feel like I could have used less, but I don't feel like the amount I used was like way too much, where I was like, oh my gosh, like there's just a ton of product here. Like, what do I do with it? I feel like especially because this is a like serum foundation, you know, and it's intended to be more of like a light to medium coverage sort of thing, less product would probably have given me that look. I feel like because I used maybe a little more product than I probably needed to, I feel like I'm getting a bit more coverage than I was expecting, honestly. But this is definitely not, you know, doing my pores any favors or anything like that. But in terms of the coverage, it looks really good. I have a lot of just like kind of discoloration scarring around my mouth, and it's looking really good there. My texture looks really nice. Even though my pores are definitely showing up, I don't think my texture looks bad, but it's looking really nice on my forehead too. This does claim to be like a little bit radiant. I feel like it has, I wouldn't call it glowy, but I do feel like it has a very like nice natural finish. I think you can kind of tell right there. It's, you know, got a little bit of radiance, but it's not like dewy or glowy. So I like that. Well, it says natural glow. However, it is feeling very matte. So I'm a little bit surprised that I see like any amount of glow, because this feels like I already set my face with powder. It's like maybe a tiny bit tacky right here, but otherwise, like, like it feels like I have nothing on my face, which is kind of surprising because obviously I used the damp sponge. It's already like completely set down. Like you could 100% blend powder product over this, I would assume. Obviously I haven't done it, and I'm surprised because I didn't know it was going to set down to a powder finish. It does claim to be like very lightweight and skin-like, and it definitely feels that way. Like if you were to touch my face right now, I don't think you would feel anything. So I mean, so far I definitely think the like breathable, weightless claim definitely seems to be very true. And since this does claim to be buildable and like layerable, we will definitely test that out. I don't really have a ton to like test it out on. Like I don't even know where I would build this up. I do still need to do like around my nose and stuff, but let's do the other side with the brush first. I want to use, you know, a similar amount of product just for comparison purposes, but I also don't because I don't want to use too much. I feel like I used a little too much before. All right, let's see. I feel like I might have used a slightly less amount of product on this side, but for the most part, I think we're looking pretty similar in terms of coverage. They're basically identical. Okay, so now we are fully covered, and here's just like kind of a head-on comparison of the two sides. I think I just like the sponge side better. I don't know exactly what it is, but I just feel like it kind of went on like a little bit drier. I still have that glow, like that natural, you know, glow that we were talking about, but I feel like just the way it kind of spread, it just felt like, I don't know, I think because this kind of dries down to more of like a powder sort of finish, I feel like it was just a little harder to like spread and blend. Like I feel like I had to work with it a little bit more and kind of drag it around. Whereas with the sponge, I feel like it sort of did the work for me. So I think, you know, especially because I'm getting the same amount of coverage, and honestly, I just prefer applying products with a sponge, not even for like the finish per se. I just like the like process of applying foundation with a sponge. Like I just enjoy using a sponge more than a brush most of the time. So I think because I'm getting the same amount of coverage and it was just a little bit easier to use a sponge, I would probably just use a sponge with this one. So here we are up a little closer. I do feel like, you know, a little bit of, I had just kind of more to cover on this side, honestly. This is so up close. So I think you can kind of tell, you know, it's definitely not like a full coverage situation going on. Of course, it doesn't claim to be, but you can definitely see the redness and just some of my scarring and discoloration kind of peeking through. Same with kind of like around my nose. Again, the pores not looking amazing. And the glow is definitely still, yeah, you can see it really well right there. The glow is still present even with the brush, which is really good. So if you do prefer a brush, you can definitely still get that really nice, just like healthy, just kind of like lit from within, natural kind of like plumping effect of the glow, which I really love that. That's honestly probably my favorite part about this foundation so far, is I really like the finish. For the most part, it's completely set down. So I feel like that's what's kind of unique about this so far, is the fact that it's setting down to a very like matte feeling finish, but it's not looking matte. It does feel truly like weightless, and it feels like to the touch really just like breathable, and like I just have a little bit of powder on my face. But so far, other than the color being just, you know, slightly questionable, that's obviously not the product's fault, that's my own fault. Otherwise though, I think this is looking really great. I feel like the true test is, oh, that looks good too, between my brows. I feel like a lot of us have that kind of as a problem area, and there's what that looks like. It's not like gathering or collecting or, you know, accentuating any of that kind of weird sort of like dryness situation. The one thing I am noticing already on this side particularly, I think just because I put this on first, I think you can probably notice it's definitely settling into like my smile lines. Nothing too crazy, but I haven't had this on for very long, and it's creasing just right there a little bit, so that's just kind of like something to note. And even though, like I said, this is set down, definitely it feels like I could go without powdering my face. I never go without powdering my face. I feel so weird not doing it. I am going to set it just because that's what I would normally do, and I feel like it wouldn't make sense for me to like test out a product using it a completely different way than I normally would. So I am going to set it, but I think 100% if you are someone that's comfortable in not setting your foundation, or if you prefer to not set it, this is definitely something I think you'd want to try. I'm hoping that putting a powder on top of it doesn't give it like too much of a powdery effect where it starts to look like cakey or dry. And I think a benefit potentially of not setting it is you'll definitely know that you can maintain this really nice like natural glow that it has. So just like as it is right now, I think this is like the perfect, almost like the warmer weather foundation. Like that's kind of where my brain's going in terms of how lightweight and breathable it is, how easy it is to apply. Like it's kind of effortless, and the fact that it sets down really nicely but still gives you like this really nice healthy glow. I feel like this just lends itself to like that perfect kind of like summer foundation. However, it's not like the lightest looking in terms of coverage. Like you can tell I have makeup on, but I would say the medium coverage is pretty accurate, and that's honestly what I go for majority of the time. I just want something that's just kind of enhance like what I already have going on and just make me look a little bit more put together. So far, so good with this. I'm actually a little bit more nervous about the concealer shade than I was for the foundation shade. I went with a 170W for the concealer, but it just looks really, really light. Doesn't that just look really, really light, especially compared to this? I don't really know. I like it to be a little lighter, but still, I don't know, kind of like blend in and work with the foundation. So that's what I'm a little nervous about. I feel like I didn't talk much about the applicator in the foundation, and I think that's because it's honestly just pretty standard. It honestly looks like a giant version of the like Tarte Shape Tape or anything like that, and it collects a really good amount of product. I guess that's the good part. It does seem like whatever amount of product comes out on the applicator is like the perfect amount, at least for half the face. I don't think there's anything super, you know, special about that, but I feel like everyone has been going kind of crazy over the applicator of the concealer because it's hard to tell right now because there's obviously a bunch of product on it, but it seems like it's kind of like extremely flat and extremely angled, whereas the one for the foundation is a little bit curved. To me, this one just looks like it's much more like it's got a very intense like point at the top, and it seems like it's just very flat and very like narrow. It just seems like it's got a very unique, interesting shape. It does seem, however, that it picks up a lot of product, so I want to be careful not to use too much. Yeah, that already seems like it's a lot. So I don't want to overdo it. I think what I'll do is I'll use my sponge on this side for the concealer and then just use my finger on this side, because to be honest, it kind of depends, but I generally just use my finger to blend out my concealer. Obviously this claims to be, you know, medium to full coverage, and obviously brightening. Okay. That blended out obviously super, super, super easily. Oh yeah, you can definitely see that claims obviously to be radiant as well, and it definitely has a very like hydrating, it claims to be hydrating as well. So I think based on the claims, it definitely looks very like radiant and hydrating. Definitely it's got like a creamy kind of like tackiness to it. Kind of has those hydrating components to it. Claims on this definitely say it's like cake free, and I feel like that's definitely something I want to test out, because I feel like under the eyes especially, things can tend to like look a little cakier just because it's usually drier under there. It's definitely brightening. I mean, I feel like you can tell just from this side of my face to this side of my face, it is definitely looking brighter. Obviously, partially that's the shade. It did give some coverage. I'm just not sure that I agree it's like medium to full. I guess full would be if you like layer it and build it, and we are still going to build up the foundation, don't worry. I just wanted to kind of like get the whole base done, and then we can kind of play around with building both. I don't know, that doesn't seem, I guess medium coverage, not full, because I feel like you can still see, you know, a little bit of just stuff going on. You know, I don't think it's too bright. Do you think it's too bright? Maybe we'll be able to tell better when we do the other side. So let me put the same amount, hopefully, of product on this side, and I'm just gonna use my finger. I don't use a ton of concealer, as you can tell. I'm not really, you know, super crazy about like an overly highlighted kind of look. I just mostly like to conceal and then drag some onto my lid. I feel like it is spreading. I think I use the same amount of product, but I feel like it's spreading further using my fingers. So I don't know, maybe the sponge, you know, absorbed a teeny tiny bit of product, but I feel like a little is going a lot longer and farther on this side. Yeah, I feel like you can tell a difference already, can't you? Wow, this might be a little bit too light. You can tell a big difference right here. There's like a big difference. I honestly wasn't expecting that. I feel like there's a ton more coverage on this side. It's way brighter. I definitely use the same amount of product for sure. Like I feel like I was good about that. And it looks really honestly nice on this side too. Again, very like hydrating. I feel like this is actually kind of surprising how different the two sides look. Like you can just tell there's more coverage. You can see over here it's just a little darker, a little bit more kind of like red, and I don't know, they look a lot different, I think. So I think what we should try is to just build it up like the teeniest, tiniest bit over here, like just add a little dot, and I'm just gonna use my finger and try to just like kind of even it out. And then like I said, we will go back with the foundation and build it up, and I'm just concentrating this kind of like right in this, you know, more like center area. It's definitely creasing on my eyes already, you can see that. right there. It's kind of like getting, I don't know, kind of gathering in the creases. Definitely seems like you're gonna need to set this one. The formula of this concealer feels a lot different in the sense that it's definitely obviously like creamier and a little bit more hydrating. Like this side feels very tacky. This definitely seems like something you're gonna want to set. Also because it just has that tacky feeling that the foundation doesn't. But I feel like that's for the better and kind of a necessity because again, obviously under the eyes can get very kind of dry and cakey looking. So I don't know that like a drier kind of powder finish sort of formula would do well under the eyes. So zoomed in a little bit, here is what everything is looking like. I definitely think I have a more even amount of coverage now that I built this side up. It does seem to be buildable. I still feel like this side looks like it has more coverage. It just looks like a little bit more evened out and smooth. I feel like this side still is like lacking a little bit, but I feel like it's definitely closer. So I would say this is probably slightly buildable. I don't know. It's not exactly the same. So I'm gonna definitely keep that in mind. I just like this side a lot better. I guess the medium to full coverage claim is correct, but I feel like you can only get the medium to full coverage if you apply it just the right way. And these do both claim to be, you know, fairly long-lasting products as well. So I will definitely be interested to see how it holds up under the eyes. Okay, so then really quick, before I finish up the rest of my face, let's just add a tiny bit more foundation. I'm just gonna dab, not much, just a little bit kind of on my chin area. Just like where I have a little bit more redness. I really feel like my cheeks and everything, like they're looking really good. You see how smooth this is? Obviously it's been sitting on my skin for a little bit now that we, you know, did the concealer and we've been chatting. Look how nice and smooth it's looking. I think it looks really good. I think what I'm gonna do for this, now that we're kind of like spot concealing with the foundation, obviously you could totally use the concealer for this as well, but just because I wanna see the buildability of it, I think I'm gonna do some with my finger and then some with the sponge. Again, just because my finger seems to be working out well for the concealer. Let's just see how that would work. I generally just like to use my finger just because it's more precise, you know, I'm just kind of blending out a really small area, but I do want to try building it up with the sponge as well in case you're like doing a whole entire layer. Okay, yeah, that looks good. That looks really good actually. True test is going to be down here though. I feel like that's where we have definitely the most to cover. I might have used a little too much product because that, again, it went a long way. All right, now we have, that looks really good actually. I would consider this, I don't know, this is pretty close to a full coverage, I think. If you like get really nitpicky, you can see like a little bit of redness kind of peeking through. So I would say probably high medium if we want to be like very technical. Very close to full coverage for my purposes in terms of what I like. This is considered like full coverage in my book. Obviously it could definitely be fuller coverage, but for me, this is, you know, as much coverage as I would want. I personally just don't mind if you can tell. I have like a little bit of skin imperfections. It doesn't bother me if there's like a tiny bit of redness. So I definitely think 100% this is buildable, which is really exciting. I'm actually very glad to see that. But I feel like what's great about this is if you don't have or want the concealer, or if like me, potentially your concealer is a little too light to use all over the face, you could just do your whole face with this how you normally would. And then you could basically use this as a concealer, kind of like I did, to just like spot conceal and get a good amount of coverage. You could basically use this as a foundation and a concealer, kind of all in one, which again is really nice for convenience and obviously money saving. Plus the fact that it has the doe foot, I feel like kind of makes it feel like a concealer in some ways. So I kind of like this feels like a 2-in-1 sort of product. And again, it's already, yeah, it's completely set down. So layering it up definitely doesn't take away from that nice kind of like that feeling. However, under my eyes still feels tacky. Yeah, I just feel like there's a little bit, it's a little bit too starkly bright with this, especially if I had like self tanner on. I'm afraid this would be a little too light, but we will see once I finish my face how the colors look, how they blend, all of that. So I will be right back. This is a cool angle. Okay, here we are with the rest of my face done. In terms of powder, whenever I'm, well, pretty much all the time, I just use my Airspun loose translucent powder. This doesn't add any coverage or color or anything like that, so it's really good for, you know, testing products out. I have a clip I can insert because I wanted to test out some cream products over top of the foundation because it did like set down to kind of like that powder finish. I wanted to see if cream products would still blend okay, and they totally did. I used this little alley-oop. I can link this as well. This is like a little stack. I really as you can tell, like the bronzer in here. I use that, and then I use the blush. And you can see in the clip how it looked, you know, before I put any powder over top of it. It looked totally fine. To me, it didn't seem to like move or displace any of the foundation or like remove any coverage. It wasn't patchy or splotty. It blended totally fine. So again, I feel like that's a really big plus for this product, the fact that it sets down to a powder, but it doesn't, you know, create any issues for cream products if you still like to kind of like pair them together. That's really good. I did end up still going over everything with powder products just because, again, that's what I typically do. But I did not use a highlighter because I wanted to see how like that more natural glow worked underneath of, you know, a setting powder and all these other products. And I feel like, I mean, it doesn't look like I have a highlighter on, but I still feel like we have a very subtle, again, kind of like healthy little like radiance going on. So I'm really glad that that showed through the powder. That was like one of my favorite things. I personally like a lot of glow. Like I would prefer even more glow than this, but I think even if you don't love a glowy finish, you'll still like this because it's not, you know, anything over the top. It's extremely natural looking. Even if you have oily skin, I feel like this would work very well because it does have that kind of matte feeling in the sense that it dries down and kind of like sets down like a powder. So I feel like that would work in your favor if you do have oily skin, but at the same time, I think this like nice healthy glow wouldn't add to any like natural kind of reflectiveness that your skin might give you. So for me, this is a kind of perfect, and I feel like it would work for a ton of people because it seems like it would definitely work with oily skin, but if you have drier skin, it's not going to like overly mattify you. So I think you could go honestly either way, which is like major points. And the coverage is looking very good. Again, I still feel like even from this distance, you can tell, I'll zoom you in a little more. You can tell I still have, you know, a tiny bit of redness peeking through, but like everywhere else is looking really good. I would definitely think this is a very solid medium coverage. I think in terms of the color situation, I'm kind of torn because I think, you know, now that we have more products on the face, I don't think that the concealer is too stark anymore, but it is still brightening. Like I do feel like you can still see, you know, some nice dimension to my face. I'm just a little worried if these will work, you know, as I get, again, more tan, whether it's with self-tanner or in the sun or anything like that. I feel like it's working. I also feel like my lighting's a little bit warm, even though I don't have it on a warm setting, but I'm feeling like in person it is looking a tiny bit warm, and obviously it's a W shade, so that's again probably like just user error. But overall, I'm really excited with how these are working. I definitely had to set the concealer for sure though. That is one thing, and I actually filmed a clip right as I was doing my eyeshadow. Even though I had already set my under eyes with powder, I set my under eyes and my lid, and then I did the rest of my face, and then I went back in with eyeshadow. I still had a ton of creasing on my eyelids even after setting this concealer, maybe even like double set. So I'm happy that this is very creamy and hydrating, but I think you kind of need to be careful because it's like very creamy and hydrating. If you are going to spot conceal with this, I guess depending where you use it, you'd probably, even if like you're not going to set the foundation because it does have that, you know, more powder finish, I think wherever you put this on your face, you would definitely want to set it. I just think it could kind of move around, potentially kind of slide around, definitely transfer. I think this seems like it would transfer. This, I don't think it will. Obviously, I'll kind of see. I'm gonna zoom you in here on the under eyes so you can see. It looks good. Like it definitely looks, you know, very smooth. I don't feel like it's settling into those like it was on my lid, but maybe zoomed in now you can tell the coverage difference. Like there's definitely just less darkness. You can kind of see, you know, that like vein or whatever right there. It looks very smooth, not cakey. It's not looking dry. It looks really good. And honestly, the foundation looks great. It looks so healthy, so nice and natural. Again, this is not like a no makeup situation by any means, but if you're looking for something that's just easy and, you know, more on the natural side, again, something that's a little more foolproof, that's what I feel like this is nice for. This is like definitely like kind of a throw on and go. This I think you need to work with a little bit more, but I do feel like they play really well together, and honestly I feel like they kind of complement each other and they look really nice. I mean, you guys let me know what you think. I'm very impressed with just like my general complexion. I think the baby's waking up, so that works out well. So it's actually been like a tiny bit since it's probably been maybe an hour and a half ish. I had breakfast and I actually just filmed the intro, so it's been a bit since I put everything on. And I know we kind of talked about my smile lines kind of creasing, but I feel like you can really really see. Honestly, less so on the brush side. I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the fact that I might have used a little less product over there, but I feel like the sponge side, yeah, Cole's here. I feel like the sponge side's definitely a little bit creasier. Otherwise, everything's looking mostly the same. Again, still a little bit, you know, peeking through on my chin. Everything else is looking really good. I feel like the smile line creasing is like really standing out to me. Whoopsie! Say God bless you. Say God bless you. All right, super quick pop in because I did just work out and I did not touch my sweat towel because I really didn't want to obviously like smudge anything. And I mean, I don't like really expect anything to last like super great through a workout because honestly I was sweating a lot. It was a leg workout, so I didn't rub anything, but sweat was like gathering and dripping off my face. My lipstick stayed on pretty well, believe it or not. But I feel like over here, I noticed, yeah, you can see it. It got super patchy right over there. I assume from like sweat dripping down, so it doesn't look super great over there. And even on my forehead, I'll zoom in a little, it's just looking a little bit kind of textury. I hope you can tell. It's just not looking super fantastic, but again, like I said, I'm not really blaming it. I also noticed under my eyes, it's like my mascara is smudging down a little bit, which I don't typically have that problem, but I think because I got a little sweaty and this concealer is just so creamy, I feel like things kind of, I don't know, almost like, I don't want to say stick to it, but I feel like it was maybe a little drier. It wouldn't be kind of like catching and smudging as easily. But I mean, the concealer doesn't look bad or anything. It's just, I'm noticing it kind of collecting some of my mascara a little bit. So overall, I mean, I feel like I don't look bad for having just done like a 40-minute leg workout. I don't know if I said it's been like about 4 hours since I put it on. Did I say that in the beginning of this clip? If I didn't, it's been about 4 hours that I've been wearing it. So it's not bad, but also, you know, it doesn't look quite as good as when I first did it, but it's holding up okay. Okay, hello, it's been about 10 hours actually, like just coming up on 10 hours since I put my makeup on, so I figured we would do one last really quick little check-in. And I feel like it's worn fairly well. I actually mentioned this in the last like wear test foundation video I did, but when I nurse my son, he's always, probably most of y'all if you have breastfed and like had babies, they typically like grab at like your face or like your chin or something like that. And he's always just grabbing at my chin, so my makeup on my chin pretty much never holds up. Plus we went out to eat and got wings, so I was definitely wiping my mouth quite a bit, so it's definitely pretty significantly deteriorated. Like all around here you can definitely see kind of like my scarring and my blemish. That honestly happens no matter what, just because of my son, so I don't know if I would be able to tell you how this would look otherwise if I didn't have a baby. But I think also a lot of it is from going out to eat. But I do feel like you can probably tell it's gotten a little bit patchy on kind of like the outer portions here on my cheek. I showed y'all this earlier from working out. So it's not wearing like incredible. I don't think it's really a fair test. Like not a lot of makeup can make it through a workout, especially like a sweaty leg workout. So I don't really feel like this is a true like fair test, at least compared to how I would normally test it, which would be putting on my makeup after I work out and then just wearing it normally. But I figured since this is just what happened, I might as well still show y'all, especially if you do usually work out with your makeup on, or if you just like maybe work in like a sweaty kind of environment where your makeup like might kind of get some wear and tear and start to kind of like disintegrate over time. Oh, I also painted my nails, which is why they're different than the last clip. So I figured this was still kind of worth showing, but I did just want to show you. I mean, otherwise I feel like it's looking mostly good. Like I don't think this is, you know, the best wearing or the longest wearing, and it didn't really make like huge claims on being super long lasting, so I don't think it's like falling short of anything. I feel like it definitely still has a really nice finish. It's held up well, like in that department. It still looks very nice where it has held on, but it's just, it's not doing so great on like the center or like the very outer edges. But my forehead I think looks really nice, and my under eyes in terms of the concealer I think look pretty decent too. I mean, obviously you can see that I have lines there, but it's not like really dry or cakey or like, I don't know, I don't feel like my lines are accentuated in any way. So I feel like the concealer has done a pretty decent job. I feel like this is what I would expect my makeup to look like after 10 hours plus working out and going out to eat wings and all those kind of things, and obviously having a baby that just messes with my face no matter what. I think overall it held up pretty well, and honestly I don't typically like try to get my makeup to last 10 or 12 hours. I'm a mom, so it's not like like I'm going out for like long stretches of time and I need to look flawless the whole time. So for me, this definitely worked out really well in terms of the coverage and how it held up. It's definitely not like the most bulletproof makeup I've ever tried, but I think for just like every day, like if you're not going to be going through it with your skin and your face, I think the finish held up really well, and I think it looks very natural, and it's worn, you know, kind of as be expected. So while it's definitely not like the #1 best long wearing foundation and concealer combo I've ever tried, I really liked how it looked like in the beginning, and I'm really excited to try it out like on a normal day, probably tomorrow. I have high hopes. I think it looks really nice. I think the color, I even asked my husband like how the color match looked, and he's very sensitive to foundations. If they're not like the right shade, he will notice and be like, that looks like she's wearing a mask. He definitely notices those things, and he said it looked like totally normal. You know, if you weren't like analyzing my face to see, does that look weird? He said he wouldn't have noticed. I'm definitely gonna keep testing these out, but so far, so good. I really like don't have much to complain about. Alrighty guys, so that is everything for this video. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you found this helpful. Like I said, everything that I mentioned will be linked down below for y'all to check out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. If you would like to subscribe, we would love to have you. We have so much fun here. And until next time, I will see y'all in our next video. Bye guys. Coley, what was that? Was that a toady boaty or was that a popey boaty?